Rhino introduction for level 4. If we look at the command line, type in line, and we're going to use the top view. So double click where it says top and it will go to top. Then it starts saying end of line. So type line, click a point, type in a dimension, then click another point, and you'll draw the line. So again, now I've turned on the snap settings down the bottom, O snap on, and I can actually go to the end points of my lines. This one I've actually drawn 140, and now I've gone across. I'm going to type trim, select a cutting object, then enter when done, and now the object trim, this one. So the trim command just allows us to trim a line or an object. So then I'm going to use offset. Now this, instead of doing a trim, I can just set the offset distance to 140, so our square was at 700. So again, select, and if I press enter, it repeats the last command. So I could do a copy and finish the top one. So all those same commands from other applications work, so copy as well. So here I'm selecting the line. This time I'm going to use array linear, so 6 in total, and it says reference point. Well, I've put in a line at the top there, or I could type in 140 in between each and then just select the side. So here's our grid. So double click top again to see our perspective. Now I'm going to use a line. Now I want to draw it up, so I'm taking ortho off, click a point, but you can see if I move the perspective around, I haven't actually drawn up, it's drawn along the same plane. So to create the line that goes up, I'm going to have to change my view to front. So zooming out, start in the perspective, then move over to this line, turn the ortho back on, type in a dimension, so 700, press return and click where you want it to be entered. So I'm going to copy this, so copy from that point to that point. So a copy has a point that you actually take it from. Now I'm going to draw another line. So I've got my three-dimensional points now. I know that if I click to those points, it's going in the correct place in this three-dimensional environment. So that's what I want to go to. Now I'm using the edge surface tool. So you can type in edge surface or go to the menu. And then I select my 4 open curves. So if they're joined as a poly, explode them first and make sure you're on a shaded viewport. So if it's looking like that, you're not sure, go to shaded and it will show. So now I'm just going to show you how to take this up. So I'm selecting from the left to right to copy my grid. I'm actually going to do an array on this. So an array 140 again, array linear, number of items 6, first reference point is one of those corners. Now down to my front view, type 140 to get it in the right distance, and front view will set it to the right plane. So then I'm just going to show you how to create a new layer. So over to here, layers, looks like a slice of cake, and then the one with the page peeling back creates a new one. You can give it a new name. So if I just use grid, oh, there's already one there, so just, there we go. So this is name grid. I'm going to give it a different colour, so something that's just a bit lighter than black but darker than the grey. Select all the objects, right click on it and change object layer. So you can see that's now a different colour. And this is really just to allow me to pick points through here. I'm taking off ortho because it makes it a bit easier. And always using the right hand mouse button to pan and move around. So move one down. So you can see how I can just select my points with my object snap or O snap on, and this is end point. So I've done that, then the edge surface again. So object snaps are down the bottom, along with the ortho. And then the gumball is the other one that we use, which gives us the 3-axis, the red, green and blue, to move on. So the nice thing is here we can actually just change our layers with the light bulb, turn them on and off so they don't get in the way. So I want to make 2D, and this is a way of exporting just a nice graphic that you can add into your presentation. So OK on that, and there we can see from the top view this is what we get. In the perspective you can see it's just a flat set of lines. So if you keep them selected, type in export, you can export those as Illustrator, so .ai, or the other file format is DXF, and that will also open up in Illustrator. So it's an interchange file. And once you've done that, you could open up a DXF into Illustrator, save it, and go into InDesign. So open, here's our DXF. It's quite large, so it's not actually to, well, it is to scale, the scale of Rhino, so I'm just reducing it in size because I'm not too worried about scale on this perspective view. And then there we have some illustrations that we can start to use to present different options. Change the colour of the lines, select them first, and line weights or anything in there. Right, so back over to Rhino. Another output we're going to do is unroll surface. So I've typed in unroll surface and you can see that's actually created a flat version of that surface. There's another type which is smash and unroll, and if you type smash it will actually take a more complex curve and unroll it, but these are working just with unroll surface. And you can see it gives it's correlating numbers. So if you laser cut that on a piece of fabric and then stretched it out into a grid at the same positions, so I'm going to save this as an Illustrator file. So there's those two settings. If Illustrator doesn't work, use DXF. Right, so the last method I'd like to look at is actually rendering. This blue sphere here renders, but we need to put a light in first. So I'm putting in a point light floating above my objects, and now I'm creating a surface. So this was a surface by 4 corners, and it's just like making a table in the studio. The light obviously is, you'd have a light in the photographic studio, so view it like a model. I'm just turning the intensity down, so that's in properties, light, intensity, and now I'm going to Rhino render and making sure the skylight is on, and I can also change my resolution. So 3,500 is A4 by 2.5, A5 would be 5,000 by 3,500 pixels. So that's two fairly standard settings. Now I'm just going back to a lower resolution so it's quicker to render. Click render, and there we have a shaded viewport, so I can change the material, the colour of these objects, and that's by clicking the little paint icon. Or I can also use a layer. So let's just make one surface, and then actually change the material to the right hand side. So that's just that's the screen display. That's how it will show on the screen if it's on a wireframe. Change the object layer, so I'll have to just change that layer. And you can see in the other views how that takes, similar to how I changed the grid. And then in shaded view, this starts to show that. So this is just purely for construction. So I can bring this one onto that layer, and then if I change the one just to the right there, this is the actual material of this layer. So let's say I want a yellow colour. I'll go with green, make it a bit different. Now anything on that layer is green, so to view it I have to go to the rendered view, deselect that, make sure it's on the correct layer. No, this one's to object as opposed to assign material by layer. So just make sure it's to the assign material by layer, render those, and then there's a sort of more physical representation of the project.